Okay, one thing that makes me panic about time and me having to constantly remind myself that it's still July and not like August or September is because I fully intend to still keep up content creation as like my main livelihood and my main career. And I just feel like I'm always running out of time and that I haven't done enough in the amount of time that has passed since my starting over video. And that's because of a lot of factors. Like my inconsistency has been a lot of factors. It's like dealing with personal stuff, mental health stuff. I've been traveling. I've been catching up on like friends and relationships and family that I neglected before I took a break. And also just constantly being at several indecision points with what I want to do with content. This is really, really difficult for me to say like on stream or publicly because it's not even that I don't know what to do. It because I want to do a lot. It's more like I don't know what to do first. And trying to decide where to channel my energy and my time is like constantly a struggle because it's like there's always a tension between what I really, really want to make content on and what I feel like the algorithm wants. And even though people are always like, just do what you want, that doesn't necessarily make it sustainable for like the internet or platforms or the algorithm. So there's always a tension there. And the people who really have it down, they either like wrangle that tension into submission and they make it their big, or they just corpa just do whatever the algorithm wants and they find a way to enjoy it, which is fine. Or they do their core thing that they really love enough and they do it well enough that they attract the audience that they've wanted to build the entire time. So there are like several ways that people deal with that tension, but I know that many creators struggle with that tension all the time. And like I have struggled with that tension since getting burned out from like Genshin content and making guides. But I never really had a chance to actually examine that tension or even deal with it because during that time I was like constantly set on that path of just making Genshin content. I was almost ready to keep making Genshin content. I don't want to say until it killed me, but until I had like a really intense crash out. And I'd had like medium crash outs relating to being super burnt out of Genshin content, but nothing so intense until that point. Until that point that happened. It was a canon event, okay? It was a canon event. If that wasn't going to be the thing that was going to stop me making Genshin content, then something else was going to be, but it was a canon event. Since then, short form content has been a blessing for me in a way that it's never been when I had my long form content routine going. Short form content has allowed me to try out new things without the full consequences of uploading long forms that are completely not Genshin related. I've been doing a lot of like non-gaming related stuff, which has been really fun. Like I really actually enjoy making IRL content. But here's the thing. After having been to Anime Expo and having picked up a few games again, I realized like I still really like gaming and I actually still see myself making game content. This was a really weird realization for me because up until now I never really see myself as a gamer, and that might be really confusing because you might be like, well, you made Genshin content for like years. And that's true, but the thing is like I'm the type of person who hyper focuses on one or two games at a time. I wasn't the person who was like spending hours and hours on PC gaming or Xbox or any console because first of all, I wasn't allowed to have that when I was a kid. Okay, classic Asian parenting. I was not allowed to like play games in my free time. But also I wasn't the person who was like trying new games as they came out, who was watching others play games, who was like awaiting game news, who was like waiting for the next release, the next drop, who was keeping up with game companies. I barely knew anything about Riot or Blizzard, or I knew kind of about Nintendo because I played a lot of Pokemon games because my phone was the only place I could put like a GBA emulator, and I would play that between classes because my parents, I mean, they weren't around to get mad at me for playing. I was away from home. I was in school. That whole thing where I never really see myself as a gamer. Because of that, whenever I think content that's like more natural to me, it's ever gaming content. But then, yeah, recently I was like, wait, I miss games. It's not even a kind of. It's like I really do miss games. And I have streamed a few times here and there since March or since publishing my starting over video. And yeah, I would play games because for me it's kind of like that is mostly what you do on stream when you stream on Twitch. But I really enjoyed those times and like I realized I want to be more intentional about it. Like yeah, we can stay casual gamer. Um but then there's also the fact that I feel like a lot of people who watch gamers online, like they watch really sweaty gamers. And maybe that's just like a false story that I'm trying to tell myself in order to like devalue what I feel for games. So, having said that, another thing that kind of dawned on me recently, you guys who watch my streams, you've seen my personality way more than the people who watch my YouTube videos. Because the person I was on the Sevy Plays guides on YouTube, and even not just the guides, but even like the podcast or any Genshin related video I had, or any video I had, was a very sanitized, clean, vanilla version of me. And this became super clear to me when I uploaded a short from one of my streams where I said fuck twice. I censored them. And then I got a handful of comments complaining about the fact that I said fuck twice. They were like, is the swearing necessary? Or like, I can't believe she swore. Or like, oh my god, you don't have to swear. And I'm like, dude, this is crazy to me because like in real life, I swear a lot. Okay, and then that's when I realized, like, holy shit. Some of the people on YouTube have never seen me be anything other than guide maker Sevy Plays. Like guide maker vanilla, super clean, never swears, Sevy Plays. I realized how much in those years that I was making Genshin content that I had to like censor myself and clean up my personality and like really make it so vanilla. I don't want to say bland, but we'll go with vanilla. First of all, you guys know that especially in the early years, like the Genshin community was very volatile. Actually, even until now, the Genshin community is very volatile. There's a lot of conflict. It can be toxic. There's a lot of baiting as well. When I was regularly making Genshin content and I wanted to talk about Genshin related stuff, even on stream, you guys know I would be the person who would be like, no, this character isn't bad. They just have XYZ flaws. And I know that people liked my content for that, or liked me for being able to say that, whereas every other content creator would just straight up say, like, oh, this character's bad. I will say that in guides where you're trying to teach a player how to play a character, there's merit in saying that. Because if a player is actively searching a guide on how to play their favorite character, they don't look for their character to be criticized, okay? They look for how to play, that's it. That's done deal, delivery made, okay? And I like to fulfill that purpose in the guides because that's what people go there for. But I realize, like, oh my god, because that was what I was pushing out on YouTube this entire time, I just started stopping myself from ever saying an actual opinion on Genshin related stuff. That adventuring intro lives rent free in my head. I think that those little intros for the guides, those kind of started letting me have more personality or show more personality. It's just the censorship of myself and having to put up so many filters. It only clicked with me very recently how deeply that had been ingrained in me. Because like there was legitimately a time when I would have a hard time saying an opinion about anything, not even Genshin related, but anything, because I was so used to censoring myself both on stream and for YouTube. And you know what? To some extent, this is gonna sound really sad, but to some extent, IRL also. I had to get used to censoring myself IRL for certain reasons. Now that I'm out of that environment, both online and IRL, I thought, like, okay, well, I'm free to be me now. And when I did the starting over video, I know there was a part there where I said, I feel more myself than I've ever been. And at the point that I made that video, it was true. I was more myself than I'd ever been, and I had the freedom to be more myself than I'd ever been. But also, I haven't reached like the ceiling of how much myself I can be, if that makes sense. Like if the ceiling is 10, when I made that video I was probably at a 3, and before I made that video I was probably at a 1, maybe sometimes even in the negatives. And it's so exhausting spending energy to keep up those filters, you know? If any of you have ever had to mask yourself for whatever reason, because the people around you, they don't accept you for who you are. I know that people with ADHD and autism, like they have to mask themselves as well. They have to keep up some facade or some filter, try to like make their behavior more conventional or more compliant to like expectations around them. It's so tiring. And I think that it's really wild to me how firmly I kept those filters up in the time that I was a Genshin creator. And now that I'm realizing that and I'm not in that environment anymore, like I want to actively get rid of those filters, which is like my lead up to, yeah, I'm going to be streaming more because, and I've always loved this about my Twitch chat and my Twitch community, because it's around you guys that I feel way, way, way more comfortable actually being myself. Like before, yeah, I was comfortable with that, especially relative to being to how I am on YouTube. But now, like because I actively want to work towards being like the definitely more genuine and not vanilla, not sanitized version of myself, we're just gonna be doing a lot of that on stream. And that doesn't mean I'm gonna start swearing like every sentence. Okay, that's not what I mean by like being the super not vanilla version of myself. But it's just I don't know. I feel like I've never really stretched the limits, which is really counterintuitive to how a lot of streamers are, because I know that streamers, they like to build personas or they like to be really loud or really exaggerated. And well, that's all good and we might do some of that too. The goal is really to just, you know, let the filters down. Streaming and Twitch and this community that we've built on my Twitch channel, I've always felt it to be the more comfortable and the safer space where I can discover new things. Because, like, discovering things on YouTube, since the Sevy Plays channel was a guide channel and it was kind of built on the concept that I already knew what I was talking about and was already like an expert on the character that I was talking about, because that's what a guide is all about, right? Like, I know how the character works, now I'm going to teach you. Because that's the persona that I essentially had built for Sevy Plays, being a guide person that was teaching, there wasn't really space for discovery. Because if I discovered something new as that Sevy Plays, I would always be scared that the reaction is like, wait, why is she only discovering that now? Like, she's supposed to know everything about the game. So why doesn't she know this? Like, I'd always be afraid of that reaction. And if someone had that reaction, then they'd like all the other guides and knowledge that I had in my videos would come into question. So I was never really comfortable trying to discover things in YouTube videos or on YouTube streams, because I wanted to uphold that guide maker part of me that was like, yeah, I know this thing and now I'm going to teach you about it. But here on Twitch, or like whenever I've been more vulnerable or more personal and more loose, less uptight with myself on stream, it's always just given me more space to like be curious and discover things and react to things and realize that there are a lot of things I don't know. And thankfully, um, you guys, like my chat, has always been pretty cool about that. You know, the first step to healing is like recognizing the problem. And I never really recognized the problem super well until now. Let's get demonetized. Let's get demonetized. No, let's not get demonetized. I need to live. I need to eat. I need money, okay? Exactly. Let's be genuine. We'll just have fun with streams. And I again am working on other videos behind the scenes, but I've really realized that I could have been streaming this whole time and I was just too scared to. Because I kind of felt like while I'm trying to rebrand my YouTube channel, I for some reason part of me felt like, oh, I should be offline. I should stay mysterious. I don't want to give anything away. But like, I don't know why I ever thought that because like I miss you guys and I miss games and I miss streaming. So it's like, yeah, I'm going to stream more and I'm excited for that.